I put a question out on my Twitter feed. I often run these Twitter polls. It was just after the day that Jeff Bezos became the world's richest man by paper wealth. And I asked the question, should there be any limit to the relative proportion of wealth, human wealth, that a single individual should hold? I thought that's relatively uncontroversial, right? People are going to say no, because people are going to say, well, if somebody can hold 100%, that means the rest of us have none. And it was
Right.
very interesting to see that a good sort of 30-40% of the respondents thought there should be no limits. And the ensuing Twitter discussion was sometimes quite unsavory as a consequence, because somehow we have connected this idea of merit and individual progression as essential to civilization and social progress.
What's underpinning the belief that a billionaire should be able to own as many billions as they can amass is that they are efficient capital allocators, and we know that because of the billions they're amassing. Right, that's
Mm-hmm.
it's both the evidence and the justification in this very
Mm.
circular way. But there's an interesting thing that happens with meritocracy, which is that once you say that there should be no so-called confiscation of wealth, no that there could be unlimited intergenerational wealth transfers within family dynasties,
Mm-hmm.
then you start to say that people who got all their wealth by being born lucky also deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
And you move in one step from mercantilism and the kind of post-industrial belief in the wealth of business people back to feudalism in one
Right.
go, because now people are rich because of their blood. You know, all the best people in the world
Mm-hmm.
realized their destiny, moved to the city of London and started reproducing with one another instead of, mating with some lesser, doe-eyed milkmaid who happened to live on the next farm. And they are destined to be our future leaders.
So assortative mating is this sort of interesting idea that people of similar background and education and wealth tend to mate. And one of the things that I think is quite curious about many technologies is that they actually enable that kind of assortative mating on a global scale. So 2 generations back, the likelihood that you could meet somebody, as wealthy or as well educated as you from another country was pretty low. But then the arrival of these digital networks, the arrival of modern finance that makes it easier to pick up and buy a house somewhere else, they all make it easier for people who believe they are self-similar to flock together. Is there something naturally sort of teleological or direction oriented about technology and driving assortative mating in the way that you've just described?
No, I think it's entirely circular. I think that the biggest predictor of wealth in a market economy is luck. And in hereditary market economies, it's birth. And birth, of course, is a
It's
form
luck.
of luck.
Right.
But I've worked in a lot of tech shops, and I'm here to tell you the people who clean the toilets worked every bit as hard as the people who wrote the code. So it's not hard work alone that makes people successful, and nor is it hard work that predicts whether or not you're doing something important, because none of those coders can write any code if they're all dead of listeria because the janitors weren't cleaning the toilets.